Welcome in, Cover One Draft Weekly, coming to you live from Mobile, Alabama. John Helmkamp, Daniel Harms. We're back with Senior Bowl takeaways, this time from day 2 of practices. As you can see, it's very sunny out here in Mobile. The left side of everyone's faces is basically seared, if you like your steak that way. So we're going to get into it. It was a really good day today. Nice to see some bounce back from a couple guys. Xavier Legette really showed up. Day 1 was a little disappointing for him. It was nice to see him get going and make a couple really big catches. Other than that, we're going to get started with an offensive lineman that we actually talked about before coming down here in our preview show. It was your guy, Dominic Pooning.
Yeah, this was the guy that we thought, at least I thought, could play tackle and guard in the NFL. And today we saw him snapping as well. He is playing guard and center here at the Senior Bowl. And that's what I like to see. Yeah. Positional versatility, a guy who now has experience playing guard and tackle at Kansas and now center and guard here at the Senior Bowl. He's got a lot of versatility, and teams love that. They want guys that can come in, can play a variety of different things. And when you have those swing tackles, guys that maybe come out in the 4th round, 3rd round, if he's going to push himself up that high, having that positional versatility is key. And he was doing a fantastic job today at center. I didn't see him lose a 1-1 all time there. He had some reps during the team drills where he would get pushed back a little bit, rebounds well the next time he goes out. So a guy that really fought back in multiple different ways today. He earned himself, actually, I think, quite a bit of money. He may be a 4th round player coming in. We could see him going probably as high as the 3rd round coming out of the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that he was doing a great job. A lot of people were talking about him. A lot of people I heard in the stands being like, oh, yeah, he had some really great reps today. Yeah, moving him around is nice to see also. We saw they tend to do that every year. There seems to be like 1 or 2 offensive linemen, interior guys in particular, that they like to move around down here and get good eyes on. And it looks like that was key for him today. We're also going to talk about a defensive lineman out of Oregon. If you don't know, I'm an Oregon fan and from Oregon. Brandon Dorlus, defensive tackle. To me, Dorlus is a guy that wasn't getting a lot of buzz coming in here. And you have very good offensive linemen that these guys are going against every day in practice. To me, he showed a lot of power on the inside. He was able to absorb double teams and able to push back some of the top offensive linemen in the class. So his ability, I think, with his hands and his drive profiles to me more as a kind of clogger of a defensive tackle. Is not going to give you a whole lot of pass rush, I don't think. But it was nice to see him win some with strength, be able to collapse the pocket, which is always a really important thing to do, and be able to get a little bit of push in those trenches, both in kind of individual drills and also when they got out there and put like the full lines together and we're doing full team drills as well. I thought that he played really well, and he was a disruptor, which you love from a defensive tackle, to be able to clog up lanes, take on double teams, and still get an arm free. In these drills, they're not tackling yet. They don't do any of that at all in the practices, and they just do it in the game. So I'm very curious to see if that translates into, full 11-on-11 tackle football on Saturday during the game. If he can generate some push up front and be able to stop some runs, that's going to be really key to see from him.
Yeah, I was thinking while you were talking about, I'm pretty sure I watched this guy. And I wrote him down, and I was looking at my notes. Number 97, Oregon. I've got a star next to his name because when I do my notes, if you have a star next to your name, you flash multiple times. And I like to see multiple wins. So there was a bull rush. I believe there was a little bit of a swim move. He was quick in and out of his, pass rush reps, whether it was coming inside and kind of swimming over back to the inside. He was able to win against guards and the center. So that was what I like to see. So it's nice that we're reliving some of these and getting, coming into something I thought I was like, I didn't really see much of him. And then we get through and like, oh, no, he definitely caught my eye. So that's always fun to get through. And this day, I think specifically day 2 is one of the more important days. Day 1, everyone's trying to figure out like their process of how they're going to get coached. What are they going to want to improve upon for day 2? And then you get all of that coaching point. You come back the next day and you see what you can improve upon. And I do think that Dorlus is one of those guys that maybe took all of that coaching and applied it today against some of the, quote unquote, better offensive linemen. And the national teams typically, look on paper, has a much better offensive line than the American team. Although I would say the American teams performed better.
Had a good day today.
They definitely had a good couple of days. So that just shows you how much we don't really know. You could always think you're coming in on paper that this team looks really good performance-wise. Again, I would say that You got guys like Guyton from Oklahoma on the American team that have really stood out, and the tackle from Houston,
Patrick
Paul, who had a really good day today. But that just shows you that the depth of talent, what we're going to see isn't always, or what we expect isn't what we're always going to see. So Dorlus was one of those guys that had a really good banner day. Another guy who's really stepped in from an outside position, a Toledo cornerback who had a good first day and an even better second day. How do you feel about Quinyon Mitchell?
I love him. I think that he's looked like one of the best corners, if not the best corner, period, here in Mobile. He's been winning a lot of reps, playing really physical, which I like. Mm-hmm. Like there's been times, I think he had a rep against Ricky Pearsall, if I remember correctly, where Pearsall was trying to get like inside leverage on him, and he basically just didn't like relent. And Pearsall's route basically just stopped. And Pearsall's had a great week. It's not like
that was like one of the first one-on-ones actually yesterday where he kind of pushed him to the ground a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So he's showing up against all the wide receivers here, playing through the ball. I think he's got a couple pass breakups to his name in these drills as well. I really like him. He's looked great. I think he's made himself a lot of money. He might be a name that was flying under the radar for a lot of people, but people know him now. So I think that he is really showing up and looks like a guy that is definitely someone we're going to see on Sundays.
Yeah, at Toledo, he played a lot of off coverage, more zone. He was more of a watch the quarterback and then break on the throw or break on movement from the receiver. Here, he's gotten to be a little more physical, show that he can press as well, showing that he's just a versatile, dynamic cornerback. And what I love about him is that he runs routes for receivers.
Oh, yeah.
His hips, his footwork, they're all in unison with what the receiver is doing. He reads micro movements of those receivers so well, and he's able to predict what they're going to do, and he's able to get his hips down, sink into it, and break on the football. You love to see that from a guy who, I mean, again, playing at Toledo, we got a little bit of a hint on what he would play, how he would play when he went up against Marvin Harrison Jr. earlier in the season. Got a little bit of experience there, and people were like, oh, kind of jot that down, put his name in the back pocket, and here he is at the Senior Bowl showing that wasn't just an aberration.
Right.
He's a guy like that's going to probably be a first round, maybe even middle of the first round draft pick because of how versatile he is, and he's showing that he can do so much more than what he did at Toledo.
Yeah, he has really good ability, like you said, to run the routes for the receivers and just be in the right place and react. I don't think I've seen him get like beat like bad. Like I don't think anyone's gotten his number. You know what I mean? No. He's competing on every throw, and these are drills that are designed for the wide receiver to basically have an advantage.
Exactly.
And he's not giving them that advantage. So it's been cool. It's been really good to see. I love him. I think he's done really well. We still are really high on Terrion Arnold. Yes. Who's not here, but I think Quinyon Mitchell is making a case to be in the conversation for one of the top corners drafted, if not the top corner drafted.
Specifically because he's so versatile. I mean, Nate Wiggins is really excellent physical tackler out of Clemson. I think Arnold you can say the same thing about him. Both of them can be versatile. They can play some zone. They can play man. But I think what we're seeing right now is that the guy that might have the most well-rounded game for the NFL is Quinyon Mitchell.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what all of the different outlets take away from this week with him and how the buzz really starts climbing for him, because it's going to climb in a big way. We're also going to talk about one more player in a positive way, a wide receiver out of Tulane, Jaquan Jackson.
Man, this guy was honestly, he wasn't on my radar for kind of exploding at the Senior Bowl. Right. He had some plays at Tulane because we got to see him against USC on a kind of a big stage last season where they just blew the doors off in the last fourth quarter there against USC and made that huge comeback. But today, he showcased a lot of everything that he's going to offer NFL teams. He's a very quick lower center of gravity guy, but if you are flat-footed, he's going to run by you. And he did it multiple times today where he caught DBs, safeties, whoever it was, flat-footed, squared up on him, and he just roasted them down the field, whether it was a seam route, a wheel route. He also showcased the ability to kind of switch up what he's doing and make some catches at the sideline with adjustments, looking at his body in the air, that body control. Yeah, I do think that the physical nature and everything like that will keep him from becoming much more than what he is. Yeah, but that's totally okay. These guys can be useful in offenses now, especially with those quick motions that we're seeing from like the McDaniel, that McDaniel and McVay started. Get him on like a little jet motion out, initially, and then he's just going to get up the seam or down the sideline, and he gets there so quickly. So he's going to be a fun yak player in the NFL, and he put today one of the better performances of the receivers that we saw.
He did. He's definitely not the biggest receiver that's down here, but he was winning and winning deep multiple times. I just kept writing his name down. I got my notebook and I'm like, oh, look, there's his name and there it is and there it is again. He was just all over the place and winning in really subtle ways. I think it's subtle movements in his routes that are terrific in late separation. The ability when the ball's in the air to have that kind of closing speed on the ball and to kind of distance yourself from the defender that's trying to track it down. He showed out in a really big way. I think that he's looking like a really nice wide receiver, one of the better ones that's been down here, at least today. He definitely caught the spotlight today.
Yeah, that speed is what teams are looking for. They want speed, and when you can showcase that. And again, the micro movements I was talking about with Quinn and Mitchell, when you're playing a guy who's got off coverage on you, they typically don't want to get beat deep. So what he does so well is he kind of slightly hesitates at the top of his stem and makes you second guess where he's going to go, especially with those one-on-ones. You can go either way. So he's really good at reading that and then just accelerating through that. And that's what he showed today multiple times down the field, whether it was the sideline or the seam, like we said. Just a really good performance from him today, just to showcase all the things he can do.
Yesterday, we talked about a player that we thought was a little bit underwhelming. Today, we're going to talk about a position group that through 2 days just not living up to the billing. It's the quarterbacks down here with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. as the headliners for this quarterback class. We expected to see at least pretty good quarterback play out of this group. I mean, it was being hyped up as one of the better quarterback classes that the Senior Bowl has had in recent history. Through 2 days, it's just not looking good.
It's really tough because you want to see them take some of those chances. These receivers also rely on the quarterbacks during team period to showcase what they can do. If they're getting open, or if they think they're open and they're not getting the ball down the field, they can't showcase all of that. Obviously, we don't have the insight to know, are they working on quick game? Are they working on the checkdowns? I would be willing to bet that they are not just asked to check the ball down to the running backs. But we're seeing right now hesitation, a lot of hesitation and a lot of checkdowns from the quarterback. So, like looking specifically at Bo Nix, one of the things that I was my big negative of him from his game tape is that ball placement. It's very inconsistent. You see wide receivers having to adjust. You see balls in the dirt. Same thing we're seeing today, where he's very hesitant, and when he finally does get the ball out, you see a receiver have to go all the way behind him to catch a football, or it's dropping in front of him. And the same is happening with Michael Penix. We're seeing a lot of balls going to the dirt today. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's a coaching adjustment, or they're just not comfortable with what's been happening at the Senior Bowl. I know some of them haven't played in about a month or so. Penix played in the national championship game, and Bo was before that. I don't think he played in his bowl game. But regardless, like there's some adjustment. Today is usually the day where you take all that coaching like we've been talking about and apply it to these practices, and we haven't gotten that from these quarterbacks. Yeah,
it's been really disappointing. You mentioned especially about Bo Nix throwing behind wide receivers. That's something that happened a lot. I kept seeing uncatchable passes behind wide receivers, and that's just not something that you're expecting to see down here. So it's been a little bit disappointing out of the quarterback class in particular. All in all, I think the quarterbacks have at least given wide receivers more opportunities today, which is good. I think one thing that was a bit disappointing about Michael Penix Jr., he had one of the highest yards per attempt in the entire country. And we haven't seen any deep shots where they're just beautiful, deep rainbows that are falling in where they're supposed to. It's just not there. And for a guy that we saw the entire season doing that to Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan, both the Jalens, spelled different ways, by the way. But for how many times we saw it during the regular season and even in the college football playoffs, we just didn't see it here.
Yeah, and it's not just those guys either. You have the American group with Spencer Rattler, Michael Pratt, Joe Milton. Just, I want to see something. And I mean, Spencer Rattler.
Show me something.
I would say that Rattler, he got to play with Xavier Legette today. Legette had a good day, and a lot of times we saw him feel that comfort. So maybe
familiarity.
So maybe what we're seeing from Penix and Nix is that they want that comfort too. Like they don't have those players that they were throwing the ball to at their schools, and now they're trying to learn how fast these receivers are coming out of their breaks, when they're going to be on the field. So I'll take that into account. But we are seeing a lot of hesitation. That might also be from not being able to read exactly where the receivers are. But timing is very, very important to all levels of football, specifically in the NFL, where these windows close much faster.
Right.
So Bo Nix over the middle of the field, you got to find it, you got to rip it. Michael Penix, you might want to start looking over the middle of the field and throwing the football there. Just day 3, I'd like to see some quarterbacks take some chances. How about you?
I would love to see more opportunities. Please just take your chances. I mean, all we have to do is get Troy Franklin and Rome Odunze on a flight to Mobile overnight.
Someone want to call them up?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Just kidding. I do not have their phone numbers. But that would solve a lot of problems. Unfortunately, they have the wide receivers that are here that they need to learn to throw to. So that's it through 2 days. There's one more day of practice, one more day of watching these guys and hopefully seeing some improvements throughout the week before the game on Saturday, which we're not going to be here for. So tomorrow's our last day of seeing these guys down here for the Senior Bowl week, and then it's draft season. Baby.
Oh, yeah.
It's just full on ramp up from there. So that's day 2. We'll see you guys after day 3. Thanks.